Trevor, there is this misconception about leadership that it's all about focusing on me. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think it's something you can easily fall into the perception of, because self is at the start of it. If you talk about self-leadership or personal management, self-management, all of those things, even personal growth to some extent, it's easy to think, well, you just work on yourself, talk about yourself, think about yourself all the time. All it is about growing you and what you want to do. And that's, when it's done properly and balanced, that's not the case. I think the driver behind, for me personally, the driver behind developing my self-leadership is so that I'm in a position and equipped better to help other people. So I'm not trying to sort of control the whole world to gravitate around all the things that I want to do. Obviously, we've all got a selfish aspect part to us that we have to fight and keep in check, keep in balance. If we get out of balance, life becomes very indulgent and we become too introspective about how am I communicating, how am I leading, and all of that sort of thing. They're good questions to ask regularly, but I think it's developing that part of the lifestyle, the approach, the habit of checking in regularly with yourself to then look out to how you can help other people, how you can communicate better or express yourself better. I think it has to be bigger than ourselves. Otherwise, selfishness never really satisfies us. If we stay too long in there, we become, distracted and it just doesn't work well. I know that from experience. We're actually sort of created, I believe, to express ourselves in a way that helps other people as well.
That's right.
And if everybody took that approach, just think how different the planet would be at this point. There's good examples of good self-leadership and good leadership out there with, certain examples, but I'm sure we can all stop and think of a few examples where we think it's just not working right. And the reason is because some of the behaviors, some of the motives behind the behaviors are just not what they should be, really.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm glad you touched on that point, Trevor, because true leadership is one that serves. If you look at all the great leaders that have impacted the world today, I could name people like Jesus, for instance, as a great leader. It's all about serving. If you are to look at, Gandhi, some of the great leaders that we know, we are looking to the history, Mother Teresa. You look at their concept of leading. It wasn't for self. It was to help a cause or to make sure that someone's life is far much better. So, by mimicking those great leaders, people who have made huge impact in our world today, you find that when you take focus off you and you put it on others, your reach, your influence is far much greater. So I'm glad that you touched on that today. Is there anything else, Trevor, around misconception or the myth of self-leadership that you would want to share with everybody here before we come to the end of our time together?
I would say that to some extent, like, you could look at someone that you consider to be a great leader, and maybe they're very charismatic, they're very vocal, they're really good at public speaking, they're really influential around large crowds or whatever. And if you're more of an introverted type person, you could look at that, and again, that could be a reason why you think, I could never be like that. But that's not the case. I mean, extroverts, introverts, whatever label or description you want to sort of give yourself. And to some extent, it's good to be aware of where you naturally sit on the scale of sort of being outgoing more or not. I'm not saying there's not a good reason to do that. As you know, I'm very into the DISC aspect of personality and behavioral traits. So I understand how different people are wired in different ways. So whether you're an introvert, whether you're an extrovert, you can be a really good, effective leader at leading yourself and others as well. And in some ways, those that are more quieter or more in the background are less visible, maybe on the global stage. They could actually be leading themselves better than somebody that is very public or very open, that is very sort of talkative and very vocal about certain things. So I think it's looking at other people in a measured way, but not letting that influence you too much on your own journey. With regards to it's I think it was Jim Quick that actually said it. Anything that's negative generally is a limiting belief. So anything you hear yourself say that's negative, one way or another, just limits you from what you could do. And I think that's a really good way of just testing. Am I looking at other people, as you say, getting inspired by what they're doing? Or am I looking at that and measuring my inadequacies and thinking, I can't do that, so I'm not going to try, or, I can't achieve that, so let's just aim for, lower down the scale of possibilities. So I think that's a key aspect as well. Don't wear a label of I'm introverted, so I can't be a really good leader, or I'm extroverted, so I'm good at this, but I'm not good at this aspect and this aspect. I think whoever you are, however you're wired, there's a journey that you can go on to improve the areas that you need to, that then helps you express what you have to offer other people and to help other people as well.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I think it was probably about 5, 6, 7 years ago, 7 years maybe, when this truth became real to me. That you can lead. It doesn't matter how you are wired. You can lead your life effectively. I used to. This may, people may interpret this wrongly. I used to think that leaders are born. But the more I look at it, yes, there's an element that there are people who have got the propensity to become leaders. But when you look at it, everybody has the ability and capacity to become an effective leader. If they follow a path, they become aware of their being, who they are, their goals, what they are trying to do, and then consistent with what they're trying to do, they become incredible leaders. I think it was John Maxwell who says something to the effect that the talent alone is not enough. If you have the talent, you can work on it to make it incredible and be impactful in whatever you are doing. So I love that you mentioned that. And if you're listening and maybe you're thinking right now, who is there willing to follow you? Well, there's millions of people looking for great leaders, people who believe in themselves, people who believe in their cause, who have got a clear vision, people who are consistent, people who are out there to serve, not out there for themselves, but out there to make the world a better place, or whatever in the sphere of influence they are. And if it is you, be it in the area of business or sports or your personal life, whatever it may be, the lessons that are shared in the book we put out, the 8 great qualities of great leadership, it will help you to become effective, help you to do more. Trevor, is there anything that people can look forward to in the chapter you wrote in the book that you'd want to give maybe a snapshot of what you cover?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of focus on 3 of the main elements. As I said, great self-leadership done well is a mixture of working and developing lots of different areas, and they all interlink. And in the chapter, we focus on 3 specific areas. One of them is sort of the level of personal insight or self-awareness that we have. We're all aware to some extent of how our actions have repercussions or consequences or benefits to other people. But there's a lot more to it. I think if we really give ourselves time to sort of dig into realizing who we are, why we do certain things, what's the driver behind my attitude towards this, or why I don't think I can do something maybe. And we can do that to a large extent through our own personal growth journey. It's a lot quicker if you get a coach, a mentor, someone like that on board. Now, obviously, I'm a coach, so I would say that. But talking from my own experience of working with a coach as well, it just speeds the whole process up. But it really is if you actually stop and think, what is the limit of my potential?
That's right.
And I challenge anybody out there to find out and to be able to describe what the limit of their potential actually is, because I think to a large extent, I think it's actually unlimited. We only have so many hours time, hours in the day, so many days that we're alive on the planet. So we have a certain boundaries from that perspective. But within that, what really are the things that are holding us back? Most of the time, if we push against them, we realize they're not there, or they're not as close as what we think they can be. And I think being aware of that and how we view limitations or lids helps us to really challenge that, and then make changes, change our perception about certain things, change the way, we formed habits based on the things we feel we can achieve. And as you touched at the start about goal setting, if we actually shift our perspective from, actually, I could do more than what I first thought. We set higher goals, we set bigger goals, which gets us more involved in the whole process. And like with everything, we're chemically linked, aren't we? That when we have a success, when we have a win, there's like an endorphin rush.
That's
we
right.
feel better. There's like we're rewarded in a sense through our physiology. And I think the more we realize the potential we have and start to use it, we tap into a level that is very exhilarating and very motivating to keep going. So the whole personal growth journey, I think once you start on that journey, you realize the benefits that you get from it. You're not suddenly going to just stop growing and just focus on lots of things that aren't going to help. You're going to keep heading in the direction that's going to make you feel like you're a better person, but make you more confident because you can do certain things better. You're able to develop your skills. You're able to help people in a more effective way. Lots of different ways. If you get me talking about potential, I will go on and on and on. But I really do think if we just stop and think, how much, like, who says that I can only do this and this, when in actual fact, with enough focus and intentionality, we can do so much more. And one of the other bits in the book that I talk about is clarity. So once you know what you want to do, how can you be clear about making that happen? Almost sort of filtering out all the things that are distracting or that just aren't as clear, aren't a priority. Focus on the things that you need to, and just go 100% in that direction. We also talk about flexibility as well. So you have to allow the whole journey to move, because life changes, our perceptions change as we grow. We suddenly see things differently, or we appreciate different aspects, and then that becomes a priority. So there has to be a certain level of flexibility as well. But it's just, I think it's fascinating. I think as human beings, we're fascinating, but also the potential that we have is fascinating if we're consciously involved in the process of developing it. Right. As I say, it won't just happen by itself. We have to be involved. So
absolutely. Intentionality. The more intention you put on something, the easier, probably not the easier, the more likely that you're going to get there, which I love. As we wrap up here, Trevor, there has been maybe a misconception that only great leaders have got this ability to resist challenges. Would you allude to that and maybe share your views around that area?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things where, again, we can use it as an excuse that if people experience what I experienced, then there's no way that they do this, this, and this. And a lot of the time, we're all human, so we're all living in different cultures, but part of the same world, where lots of good stuff going on, lots of stuff that's not right, that shouldn't happen to anyone. But certain things we have to navigate. It's either, I think, when bad stuff happens, it's either a consequence of our actions, directly, indirectly, or the consequence of somebody else's actions. And whether we're responsible necessarily for it, sometimes we have to navigate the fallout. We have to get through certain things. So we all have challenges. And I think it's more the embracing the responsibility that regardless of what comes my way, I have the ability to develop resilience. I have the ability to choose how I think about stuff, how I frame it, how I want to respond. Do you take the high road, or do you just, react, behave badly? There's a really good phrase I just remind myself every now and again, like, any idiot can start an argument. Like, it's not difficult, is it? You can find something wrong with someone or something and it just go that way. But like, do we want to just take the easy road and start an argument? Why don't we take the high road and actually make things better? So I think it's more I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent there, haven't I? But I think it's one of those things that you embrace the parts of life that you can't change, and you change the parts of you that help to navigate the rest of it in a more productive way. So
incredible, absolutely incredible. Trevor, we have come to the end of our time together here. I'm looking at the clock, but there is great information in the book. I was reading the chapter you wrote there, and I firmly believe that anybody who take the principles you share and religiously follow them, apply them in their lives, truly they will see tremendous results. Maybe you can change the trajectory of your life, and you could be impactful and reaching other people for good, indeed. So thank you for participating in the project, and for all that you do on the business show as well.
No, it's been brilliant. Yeah, it's really good. I've got a lot out of reading the chapters that the other authors have contributed as well. So we're all on a learning journey, and I think one of those. Let me just close with this, if I may. I know we're
sure.
Time, but one of the drivers I know that you put in the introduction to the book is the fact that the book is a resource that people can go back to regularly. I mean, all the qualities mentioned, you don't just hit them once and then you don't have to do it again. They're one of the things, or each of them are areas where you have to keep on top of, keep sharpening, keep developing. And so the book acts as a checklist, really, is to just checking in on, okay, I'm really good at this and this, but actually I need to focus on this. Like, am I being intentional in my leadership? Am I building trust within the team that I have? Am I sort of developing a culture of gratitude? All those different aspects, lots of other bits as well. But it's a really good sort of checklist, and a book like the resource that you can just go back to time and time again, just sharpen where you are. So
yeah, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Trevor. This is incredible. I want to talk to you. If you are still considering taking the book, get the book, have a read. And if it is not meeting your expectation, by all means, reach out to us and we can see how we can help you indeed. Look, one of the reasons, Trevor, that we got all these amazing experts together is I firmly believe the world needs great leaders today, not only in politics, not only in business, not only in our schools or our social services or social security, but in all areas, all the 7 pillars of society. We are in great need of great leaders. And my hope is you are listening to this, you will jump on and become one of those great leaders in those spheres and do your part. Together, we can certainly make our generation even better. We can stop certain madness that is going in the world and really put things back to where they are supposed to be. So can I ask you, if you can, and if you can find it in yourself, to take the notes, what you've learned in this episode, in this show, and also in the book, really schedule a timeline when you're going to implement some of these principles, perhaps not all of them. If it is the principle of remote working, the principle of intentional leadership, or any intelligent, emotional intelligence, many of subjects that we talked about, put a time scale that, okay, this week, this month, I'm going to be focusing on developing this particular skill set. And, check yourself, just like Trevor did. In fact, perhaps I'll ask Trevor to put a template of how he numbered his days, his schedule, so that you can do exactly the same thing for yourself. because really nothing is going to happen until you take that step where you schedule when you're going to implement your discoveries. And when you fail to implement those, ask yourself, why haven't you perhaps implemented what you've learned today or what you're learning in the book? Because life has a funny way that the same thing that stops you from implementing discoveries in one area could be the same thing that is stopping you from implementing in other areas. T. Harv Eker once said, how you do anything is how you do everything. So can I ask you, can I really implore you that you take time, schedule in your calendar, maybe this year, that you're going to be working on these 8 great leadership qualities. If you need help, there is a training that Trevor and many of these great individuals who participate in the program, that you can reach out to them and they'll be able to help you. We truly believe in what we are doing, and we believe in you. We believe that you can become a great leader, and we believe that with your leadership, the world we live, we call our home, can become a better place. Your family will be better for it. Your community will be better for it. And the generation will be far much better for it. I know I'm singing to the choir, but I'm very passionate about it. In fact, I've got this picture that if we have maybe 50,000 people that takes on the principles we're talking about, how different will our world be over the next 5 to 10 years? I can, believe that it will be far much different than the way it is today. So can I encourage you, if you've got any question, reach out to Trevor, reach out to myself, or reach out to any of the contributors, and we'll be delighted to help you along the journey. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly, truly yet to come. Once again, thanks, Trevor, for being on the show.
That's brilliant. No, thanks for having me.
Goodbye for now.